The Human Aura, Astral Colors and Thought Forms, by William Walker Atkinson. Chapter 1. What is the human aura? The original inquiry is frequently posed to the student of occultism by those who have encountered the term yet remain unfamiliar with its significance. Simple though the question may appear, providing a lucid and concise explanation is by no means uncomplicated, unless the interlocutor already possesses a rudimentary acquaintance with the tenets of occult science. Let us begin at the outset, examining the query from the perspective of an individual who has but recently encountered the term for the first time. Lexicographers define the word aura as any subtle, invisible emanation or exhalation. English authorities generally attribute the etymology of the word to a Latin term signifying air. Conversely, Hindu authorities contend that its origin lies in the Sanskrit root at, meaning the spoke of a wheel. The significance of this latter derivation becomes apparent when one considers that the human aura radiates from the individual body in a manner analogous to the radiation of spokes from the hub of a wheel. Occultists generally prefer this Sanskrit origin, though it is evident that the concept of an aerial emanation, suggested by the Latin root, is by no means discordant with the true import of the term. Whatever its true etymological origin, the concept of the human aura is one upon which all occultists remain in complete accord and harmony, and reference to it may be found throughout the literature of occultism. We shall therefore begin by considering its primary conception as maintained by advanced occultists, both ancient and modern, whilst disregarding minor points of theoretical divergence among the various schools. Briefly defined, the human aura may be characterized as a subtle, ethereal radiation or emanation encompassing every living human being. It extends outward in all directions to a distance of 2 to 3 feet from the physical form, assuming an ellipsoidal shape, a vast, egg-shaped nebula enveloping the body. In common parlance, this aura is occasionally referred to as an individual's psychic or magnetic atmosphere. This atmosphere or aura is perceptible to a significant portion of humanity through a mode of psychic awareness commonly termed feeling, though the expression lacks precision. Most individuals are, to some degree, cognizant of a subtle quality inherent in the personality of others, an influence that may be clearly yet unconventionally sensed when those individuals are in proximity, even if they remain beyond the field of vision. Existing outside the conventional scope of the 5 senses, these perceptions of a projected personality are frequently regarded as peculiar or uncanny. Nevertheless, every individual, in their innermost consciousness, recognizes these phenomena as genuine and acknowledges their influence upon their impressions of others. Even young children, and indeed infants, perceive this influence, responding to it through instinctive affinities and aversions. Yet human testimony regarding the existence and nature of the human aura is not confined to the reports of the psychic senses previously mentioned. A substantial portion of the human race, far greater than is commonly supposed, possesses some degree of psychic sight. Many individuals possess highly developed faculties of this nature but refrain from disclosing them to associates for fear of derision or of being deemed eccentric. Furthermore, one occasionally encounters fully developed, clear-sighted, or truly clairvoyant individuals whose powers of psychic perception are as highly refined as the physical senses of the average person. The testimonies of these observers, though separated by vast distances of time and space, have invariably coincided regarding the essential aspects of psychic phenomena, particularly concerning the human aura. To highly developed clairvoyant vision, every human being appears enveloped in an ellipsoidal aura approximately 2 to 3 feet in depth, which is denser and more concentrated in proximity to the body, and becomes progressively more tenuous, subtle, and indistinct as the distance from the physical form increases. Under psychic perception, the aura presents itself as a luminous cloud, a phosphorescent flame, dense and deep about the center, gradually diffusing into indistinctness toward the periphery. Indeed, as all advanced occultists are aware, the aura extends significantly further than even the most refined clairvoyant vision can discern, and its psychic influence is often perceptible at a considerable distance. In this regard, it resembles a flame upon the physical plane. It gradually diminishes into obscurity, its rays extending far beyond the limits of visual perception, a phenomenon verifiable through chemical instrumentation and similar means. To the highly developed clairvoyant sight, the human aura is revealed as composed of all the colors of the spectrum, with combinations that vary from one individual to another and shift continuously within each person. These colors reflect the mental states of the individual within whose aura they manifest. Each psychological state possesses its unique combination, derived from the primary colors that represent fundamental mental conditions. Because the mind is in a state of perpetual flux, there is a corresponding and continuous series of transformations within the colors of the human aura. The hues and gradations of the aura present an ever-shifting, kaleidoscopic spectacle of extraordinary beauty and profound interest. The adept occultist is capable of discerning the character of any individual, as well as the nature of their transient thoughts and emotions, merely by analyzing these shifting auric colors. To the advanced occultist, the mind and character of another become as an open book, to be perused with care and intelligence. Even the student of occultism who has not attained so high a degree of clairvoyant vision may soon cultivate a capacity for psychic perception that enables them to at least sense the vibrations of the aura, even if they cannot visually discern the colors, thereby permitting them to interpret the underlying mental states. The underlying principle remains identical, as the colors are merely the external manifestations of the vibrations themselves, precisely as physical colors are but the outward expression of material vibration. Yet one must not assume that the human aura always presents the appearance of a serene, luminous cloud of shifting color. To describe this as its characteristic state is analogous to defining the ocean as a calm, deep expanse of verdant water. We know, however, that the ocean occasionally departs from this tranquil state, rising instead in mountainous, white-capped waves that threaten the frail vessels of mankind with their might. Similarly, we might define a flame as a steady, luminous stream of combusting gas, while knowing full well that the term also encompasses the intense tongues of fire that erupt from the windows of a burning structure, consuming everything in their path. Thus it is with the human aura. At times, it may appear as a beautiful, serene, and luminous atmosphere, resembling a magnificent opal illuminated by the sun. At other times, it blazes like the fires of a great furnace, casting forth immense tongues of flame in every direction, surging and subsiding in great billows of emotional intensity or passion, or perhaps revolving like a fiery maelstrom toward its center, or swirling outward from its core. Furthermore, it may be observed projecting from its depths smaller entities or centers of mental vibration, which, like sparks from a furnace, detach themselves from the parental flame and journey afar in other directions. These are the projected thought forms of which all occultists are fond of speaking, and which elucidate many perplexing psychic occurrences. Thus, it will be seen that the human aura constitutes a highly significant and intriguing aspect of each individual's personality. The psychic dimension of humanity is as intrinsic to the self as is the physical aspect, the complete human being comprising both phases. Invisible man is no less the authentic individual than is visible man. Just as the subtler forms of nature are invariably the most powerful, so the psychic individual is more potent than the physical counterpart. Within this volume, I discuss the human aura and its colors as perceived through astral or clairvoyant vision, for this is the manner in which the occultist observes and investigates it. Occult doctrine maintains that, in the evolutionary course of humanity, this astral vision will ultimately become the universal heritage of every human being. Indeed, it exists within us even now, requiring only development to reach perfection. Nonetheless, contemporary physical science is currently presenting corroborative evidence to the public regarding the existence of the human aura. In Europe particularly, several scientists have written on the subject of the aura, describing the results of experiments wherein the aura was detected, and indeed photographed, utilizing fluorescent screens akin to those employed in radiography. Prominent authorities in England, France, and, more recently, Germany, have reported the discovery of a nebulous, hazy, radioactive energy or substance enveloping the human body. In short, they now assert that every human being is radioactive, and that this auric radiation can be recorded and perceived by interposing a screen of specific fluorescent material between the eye of the observer and the subject under observation. This aura, thus identified by scientific researchers, is termed by them the human atmosphere and is classified as analogous to the emissions of other radioactive substances, such as radium. They have, however, failed to detect any color within this atmosphere, and remain ostensibly ignorant of the correlation between auric colors and mental or emotional states, which is so familiar to every advanced occultist. I mention this circumstance solely as a matter of general interest and instruction for the student, rather than to suggest, even in the remotest degree, that traditional occult teachings and the attendant observed phenomena concerning the human aura require verification or endorsement from material scientists. On the contrary, it is my view that material science should feel honored that its new discovery of the human atmosphere is validated by occult science. In due course, material science may likewise discover these auric colors and proclaim them to an astonished world as a novel truth. Chapter 2. The Prana Aura. Numerous authors addressing the subject of the human aura content themselves with describing the colors of the mental or emotional aura, while neglecting virtually any reference to its foundational substance or efficacy. This omission is akin to performing the play of Hamlet with the character of Hamlet omitted, for unless we comprehend the fundamental substance of which the aura is composed, we cannot hope to attain a lucid understanding of the phenomena arising from and by virtue of its existence. One might as well expect a student to grasp the principles of color without first being introduced to the principles of light. The fundamental substance of which the human aura is composed is none other than that wondrous principle of nature so frequently encountered in occult literature. Though designated by various appellations, it is perhaps most widely recognized by the Sanskrit term prana, and may be conceptualized as the vital essence or life force. It is unnecessary within these pages to engage in a comprehensive examination of the nature and character of prana. It suffices for our purposes to consider it in its manifestation as a vital force or life essence. In its broadest sense, prana represents the universal principle of energy. Yet, in its relation to organic forms, it is the vital force underlying all manifested life. It exists within all living entities, from the most minute microscopic organism to beings on higher planes of existence, planes as far superior to humanity as humanity is to those simple microscopic forms. Permeates them all, enabling all vital activity and functioning. Prana is neither the mind nor the soul. Rather, it is the force or energy through which the soul manifests its activity and the mind expresses its thought. It is the motive power that drives the physical and mental machinery of life. It constitutes the very substance of the human aura, and the colors of various mental states manifest within it, much as the hues of chemical substances manifest within water. Yet, prana is not a material substance, but rather the underlying essence of energy and force in nature. While it is true, as previously observed, that all auras are composed of the substance of prana, it is equally true that there exists a simple, elementary form of auric substance. Occultists have designated this as the prana aura to distinguish it from the more intricate phases and forms of the human aura. The simplistic nature of the prana aura renders it far more easily perceived than its more complex counterparts. For while only highly sensitive individuals can discern the finer vibrations of the mental and emotional aura, and only clairvoyant sight can detect its presence through its colors, nearly anyone, through diligent experimentation, may become conscious of the prana aura, not merely by sensation, but in many instances by actually perceiving it with ordinary sight, when properly directed. The phenomenon known as the prana aura is, naturally, the most elementary phase of the human aura. It is the aspect most intimately associated with the physical body and is less influenced by mental states. This circumstance has led certain authors to refer to it as the health aura or physical aura, appellations that are indeed appropriate, as we shall observe, though we prefer the simpler designation employed here, the prana aura. Indeed, the prana aura reflects the state of health of the radiating individual, and it furthermore contains physical power and magnetism that can be, and frequently is, transmitted to others. In its basic state, the prana aura is virtually colorless, resembling the clarity of the purest water or a flawless diamond. Under clairvoyant observation, it appears striated with exceedingly minute, bristle-like lines radiating outward from the physical body, much like the quills of the fretful porcupine, to borrow Shakespeare's phrasing. In instances of robust physical health, these bristle-like striations appear rigid and taut. Conversely, should the individual's general health be compromised, these radiations appear tangled, contorted, or curly, occasionally exhibiting a drooping aspect, and in extreme cases resembling soft, limp fur. It may interest the student to learn that minute particles of this prana aura or vital magnetism are shed from the body in conjunction with physical exhalations, such as scent, and persist for some time after the individual has departed from the specific location where they were cast off. Indeed, as is well known to all occultists, it is these very particles of the prana aura that impart vitality to the scent of living creatures, thereby enabling dogs and other animals to track an individual or animal long after they have passed. This phenomenon is not attributable solely to physical odor, which, upon brief consideration, must be recognized as exceedingly faint. Rather, it is the presence of these prana-auric particles that allows a canine to distinguish the trace of a single individual from among thousands of others, an achievement that is as much psychical as it is physical. Another distinguishing characteristic of the prana aura is that it is permeated by a multitude of exceedingly minute, scintillating particles, resembling fiery electrical sparks in perpetual motion. These sparks, which may be perceived by individuals possessing even minimally developed psychic faculties, impart a vibratory motion to the prana aura that, under specific conditions, becomes clearly visible to the ordinary observer. This undulatory movement resembles the shimmering of heated air rising from a warm stove or from the parched earth on a midsummer day. Should the student partially close his eyes, peering through narrowed lids, and attentively observe a highly robust individual seated in dim illumination, he may discern this undulating, pulsating vibration extending an inch or two from the bodily surface. Acquiring the ability to recognize these vibrations demands a certain degree of deftness, yet diligent practice will frequently provide the necessary key. Once initially perceived, the observation becomes effortless. Furthermore, in individuals of active intellect, this pulsating prana aura may be observed enveloping the head, particularly during periods of concentrated and active cogitation. With minimal practice, almost any investigator can faintly discern the dim outlines of the prana aura surrounding his own hand and fingers. This is accomplished by positioning the hand against a black background in a dimly lit room and gazing at it through narrowed eyelids, squinting if required. Under these conditions, and after modest practice, one is likely to perceive a subtle outlined aura, radiation, or halo of pale, yellowish light enveloping the hand. By splaying the fingers in a fan-like configuration, one will observe that each digit exhibits its own distinct, outlined prana aura. The more potent the vital force, the more pronounced the perception of this phenomenon will be. In these experiments, the prana aura frequently resembles the semi-luminous radiance surrounding a candle flame or a gas light. Under optimal conditions, the emission may even assume an almost phosphorescent quality. It must be remembered that this is merely a matter of trained physical sight, rather than clairvoyant vision. This prana aura is identical to human magnetism, which is utilized in traditional magnetic healing. It represents, in essence, the external manifestation of the wondrous pranic force. It is perceived when one clasps hands or otherwise enters into close physical proximity with a highly magnetic individual. Conversely, it is this very force that weak, predatory, or vampire-like individuals, whether consciously or unconsciously, seek to drain from robust persons, should the latter permit it through a lack of protective knowledge. Who has not encountered individuals of this nature, who appear to sap one's very vitality? One must remember, therefore, that the prana aura is the emanation of life force or vital energy, the driving steam of physical and mental activity. It is the effusion of the vital energy that propels the bodily machinery. Its presence denotes life. Its absence, inanimate lifelessness. Chapter 3. The Astral Colors. The term astral, so frequently utilized by occultists, is difficult to define or elucidate, save to those who have pursued a systematic course of study in occult science. For the purpose of our present inquiry, it suffices to state that, transcending the ordinary plane of physical sensation, there exists another, more subtle realm known as the astral plane. Every human being possesses the innate and inherent faculty of perceiving the phenomena of this astral plane by means of an extension or expansion of the ordinary sensory faculties. However, in the majority of mankind at the current stage of evolutionary development, these astral senses remain dormant. Only occasionally does one encounter individuals capable of perceiving on the astral plane, although in the natural course of evolution, the entirety of the race will undoubtedly acquire this capacity. The colors of the human aura, which emanate from various mental and emotional states, belong to the phenomena of the astral plane and thus receive the appellation of astral colors. Appertaining to the astral plane rather than the physical, they are perceived exclusively by senses functioning upon that subtle level and remain invisible to ordinary physical sight. Yet, to those who have developed astral vision or clairvoyance, these colors are as tangible as ordinary hues are to the average person, and their phenomena have been as meticulously documented by occult science as have physical colors by natural science. The circumstance of their invisibility to ordinary physical senses does not render them any the less real. In this regard, one must remember that to a blind individual, physical colors do not exist. Indeed, ordinary colors are non-existent to those who are colorblind. The individual restricted to the ordinary physical plane is merely colorblind to the astral spectrum. Upon the astral plane, every nuance of mental or emotional state possesses its corresponding astral color, which manifests concurrently with the form itself. It follows, therefore, that once the occultist possesses the key to this color correspondence and is thus enabled to perceive these astral colors via astral vision, he is likewise capable of reading the mental and emotional states of any individual within his view with the same facility with which you now read the printed words of this volume. Before proceeding to a consideration of the catalogue of astral colors within the human aura, I wish to direct your attention to a slight variation regarding the prana aura. I have previously stated that the prana aura is colorless, resembling a diamond or clear water. While this holds true in the average instance, in the case of an individual possessing robust physical vitality or virility, the prana aura occasionally assumes a faint, warm, pinkish hue, which is in fact a reflection of the red astral color, the significance of which you shall presently learn. Like their physical counterparts, all astral colors are derived from three primary hues, namely, red, blue, and yellow. From these three primary colors, all other tints are generated. Succeeding these primary colors are those designated as secondary, namely, green, derived from a combination of yellow and blue, orange, formed from a combination of yellow and red, and purple, produced by a combination of red and blue. Further combinations produce the remaining colors. For example, green and purple constitute olive, orange and purple yield russet, and green and orange form citron. Black is defined as the absence of color, whereas white represents a harmonious synthesis of all colors. However paradoxical this may appear to those unacquainted with the subject. The blending of primary colors in diverse proportions produces what are termed hues. By introducing white to these hues, tints are obtained, whereas the admixture of black yields shades. Strictly speaking, black and white are classified as neutral colors. We shall now examine the significance of the astral colors, that is to say, the explanation of the specific mental or emotional states represented by each. It is recommended that the student familiarize himself thoroughly with the meanings of the primary colors and their various combinations, as a precise comprehension of the key to the astral colors frequently facilitates the development of astral sight. Key to the astral colors. Red. This color denotes the physical dimension of mentality. That is to say, it represents those aspects of mental activity that are concerned with physical existence. This dimension is manifested through the vitality of the physical vessel, whilst its alternative hues, tints, and shades delineate passions, anger, and corporeal cravings. A more detailed exposition of these diverse red manifestations shall be presented hereafter. Blue. This color represents the religious or spiritual dimension of the intellect. It denotes those mental operations directed toward lofty ideals, altruism, devotion, reverence, and veneration. It manifests, through its diverse hues, tints, and shades, in every form of religious sentiment and emotion, from the most exalted to the most base, as subsequent observations will demonstrate. Yellow. Yellow signifies the intellectual aspect of the mind. It corresponds to those cognitive processes concerned with reasoning, analysis, judgment, logic, induction, deduction, synthesis, and related operations. Across its various hues, tints, and shades, it finds expression in the diverse forms of intellectual activity, both sophisticated and rudimentary, as shall be illustrated in due course. White. White represents that which occultists designate as pure spirit, a concept distinct from the religious sentiment of spirituality, serving as the very essence of the absolute. Pure spirit constitutes the positive pole of being. The role it assumes within the astral spectrum shall be examined as our inquiry progresses. Black. Black denotes the negative pole of being, the antithesis of pure spirit, which it opposes in every respect. Its influence upon the astral colors shall likewise be elucidated as we proceed. The manifold combinations of the three primary astral colors arise from their integration with black and white, as well as from their mutual blending. These permutations naturally reflect the nuances of mental and emotional activity expressed by the individual, serving as both their mirror and their key. Nonetheless, the combinations and blendings of these astral hues are countless, presenting an almost infinite variety. This complexity arises not only from the fusion of the primary colors with black and white, but also because the primary mass of one color is frequently streaked, striped, dotted, or obscured by others. Occasionally, one observes the collision of two antagonistic color streams in active opposition prior to their integration. In other instances, the neutralizing effect of one hue upon another becomes apparent. Occasionally, vast dark clouds obscure the luminous colors beneath, dimming their fierce radiance in a manner reminiscent of a physical conflagration. At other times, vivid flashes of brilliant yellow or red course across the auric field, betraying agitation or the conflict between intellect and passion. The novice student who has yet to cultivate astral vision is prone to imagine that the astral colors within the human aura resemble an ovoid rainbow or spectrum. This, however, is a profound misconception. Primarily, the astral colors are rarely quiescent, for all mental and emotional activity is born of vibration, transformation, and rhythmic motion. Consequently, the auric colors exhibit a kaleidoscopic spectacle of incessant alteration in hue, form, and configuration, an extraordinary electrical display, as it were, perpetually shifting, changing, and merging. Vast, flame-like emanations project themselves beyond the periphery of the aura during periods of intense emotion or excitement, accompanied by powerful vibratory vortices and undulations. This spectacle is exceedingly captivating, though initially disquieting. Nature acts with great wisdom by imparting the faculty of astral vision gradually, through almost imperceptible stages of advancement, for the astral plane contains many distressing, as well as sublime sights. Chapter 4. The Astral Colors. Continued. Keeping ever in mind the significance of the three primary colors upon the astral plane, let us examine the import of their various combinations, shades, hues, and tints. The red group. Within this category of astral colors visible in the human aura, the bright, clear shade of red is highly prominent, resembling fresh, pure arterial blood as it departs the heart, replete with oxygenated life force. This auric shade denotes health, vitality, vigor, and virility in their unadulterated forms. Indeed, the aura of a robust, healthy child displays this hue with exceptional clarity and strength. Robust, wholesome, and natural emotions, such as friendship, the desire for companionship, a fondness for physical exercise, and clean, healthy recreation, manifest as a luminous, pure shade of red. Conversely, when these sentiments are corrupted by selfishness or base motives, the hue becomes darker and more somber. A proclivity for vulgar companionship, unsavory recreations, or self-serving pursuits produces an unappealing, turbid red shade. A shade closely approximating crimson represents the astral color of love, yet its precise tint and shade fluctuates significantly according to the character of this emotional state. An exalted form of love, which prioritizes the well-being of the beloved over self-gratification, manifests as an exquisite rose tint, notably one of the most delightful of all astral hues. Descending the scale, the crimson shade grows darker and more opaque, culminating in the realm of impure, sensual, and coarse passion. This latter state is manifested by an unsightly, dull, and muddy crimson of a repulsive aspect, reminiscent of blood mingled with mire or soil. A distinctive sequence of red shades represents anger in its diverse manifestations, ranging from the vivid scarlet flashes of righteous indignation to the sinister gleams of deep, somber red that betoken uncontrolled rage and passion. The red of anger typically manifests as rapid flashes or great leaping flames, frequently superimposed upon a black background in instances of malicious hatred, or against a turbid, greenish backdrop when the wrath stems from jealousy or envy. The hue of avarice is an exceptionally uncomely combination of dull, dark red, and a murky, unpleasant green. Were individuals capable of perceiving the astral colors that accompany these undesirable mental states, the spectacle might inspire sufficient aversion to effect a cure. In any event, they are highly offensive and repulsive to the occultist who observes them in the human aura, who frequently marvels that they do not induce physical illness in the subject, a result that, in truth, they not infrequently produce. The yellow group. Within this category of astral colors, we encounter as many variations as exist within the red group. Yellow, which signifies the intellect, exhibits numerous degrees of shade, tint, and clarity. An intriguing shade within this spectrum is orange, which represents diverse forms of intellectual pride, ambition, and the desire for dominance through the will. A greater proportion of red within this astral orange indicates a stronger connection to the physical or animal nature. Thus, pride and the lust for dominion over others contain a significant red component, whereas the pursuit of intellectual mastery features far less red in its composition. Exalted intellectual attainment, and the devotion thereto, is manifested by a beautiful, translucent golden yellow. Renowned spiritual teachers often exhibit this color so intensely that their disciples occasionally catch glimpses of a golden halo enveloping their heads. Educators of profound spiritual development possess this nimbus of golden yellow, bordered by an exquisite blue tint, in highly conspicuous measure. The portraiture of humanity's great spiritual guides typically depicts this radiance as a halo, reflecting an intuitive or direct recognition of the phenomenon by master artists. Hoffman's celebrated depiction of the Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane portrays this nimbus with such precision that the occultist is persuaded the artist must have personally witnessed a similar scene within the astral light. So faithful are its details to astral reality. The iconographies of the Buddha likewise display this luminous radiance. The rich golden hues of intellectual yellow are exceedingly rare. A pallid lemon tint is typically the sole indicator of intellectual capacity discernible within the aura of the generality of humankind. To the occultist utilizing the faculty of astral vision, a gathering of individuals will reveal, interspersed at distant intervals, the brilliant golden yellow of genuine intellect, gleaming like isolated burning candles amidst a vast multitude of dimly glowing matches. The green group. This represents a singular category, comprised as it naturally is of diverse combinations of blues and yellows, modified by tints of white or shades of black. Even adept occultists find it exceedingly difficult to explain how certain green hues arise from the union of spiritual blue and intellectual yellow. This remains one of the most enigmatic aspects of the study of astral colors, and only the most advanced practitioners can elucidate the underlying cause in every instance. For those inclined towards such analytical investigations, I offer the following intimation, which may assist them in resolving the query videlicet. The key resides in the circumstance that green occupies the precise center of the astral spectrum, serving as an equilibrium between the two extremes, while simultaneously being influenced by these extremities in a remarkable manner. A specific, tranquil shade of green denotes a love of nature, outdoor life, rural travel, etc., and also, with a slight variation in tint, an affection for domestic scenes, etc. Furthermore, a clear, beautiful, lighter tint of green indicates that which may be defined as sympathy, altruistic emotion, and charity, etc. Illustrating the diversity within this category of astral colors. Yet another shade of green manifests as intellectual tolerance of the perspectives of others. As this hue grows more dull, it signifies tact, diplomacy, and the capacity to manage human nature, and, descending a further degree, it merges into insincerity, evasion, and falsehood, etc. There exists an unpleasing, slate-colored green indicating base, devious deceit, a hue that is regrettably common within the average aura. Lastly, a singularly repulsive, turbid, murky green denotes jealousy and related sentiments, such as envious malice, etc. The blue group, this fascinating category of astral colors, represents the diverse manifestations and degrees of religious sentiment, spirituality, etc. The loftiest expression of spiritual and religious contemplation is represented by a beautiful, rich, clear violet tint, whereas the lower and more coarse phases of religious emotion and thought are depicted by darker, more somber hues, tints, and shades, descending until a profound, dark indigo is reached, a shade so dark as to be barely distinguishable from a bluish black. This latter coloration, as might be anticipated, signifies a debased, superstitious form of religiosity, scarcely worthy of the name. We must remember that religion possesses its depths as well as its heights. Its garden nurtures the rarest of blossoms alongside the most noxious weeds. Exalted spiritual sentiments, genuine spiritual development, are indicated by an extraordinarily clear light blue of an unusual hue, akin to the translucent azure of the sky on a crisp autumn afternoon shortly before sunset. Even when we behold an approximation of this color in the natural world, we are inspired by an elevating sensation, as though we stood in the presence of higher realms. So unerring is human intuition regarding these phenomena. High morality is indicated by a series of exquisite shades of blue, invariably of a clear, inspiring quality. Religious sentiment governed by fear is represented by a shade of bluish-gray. Purple denotes an affinity for form and ceremony, particularly those associated with ecclesiastical offices or solemn, regal grandeur. Purple was, quite naturally, selected as the imperial color in antiquity. The brown group, this classification of astral colors represents the desire for acquisition and accumulation, extending from the clear brown of industrious preservation to the murky, dull browns of parsimony, greed, and avarice. As may be readily conceived, there is a vast spectrum within this category of brown shades. The gray group, the category of grays, represents a negative classification of thoughts and emotions. Gray signifies fear, despondency, a lack of fortitude, negativity, etc. This constitutes an undesirable and disagreeable group. Black. Within the astral spectrum, black signifies hatred, malice, vengeance, and malevolence in general. It obscures the brighter colors, reducing them to their baser aspects and divesting them of their beauty. It represents animosity, as well as melancholy, depression, pessimism, etc. White. White is the astral color of pure spirit, as previously observed, and its presence elevates the quality of the other colors, rendering them more luminous. Indeed, the perception of the highest state of being known to the most advanced occultists is manifested to the supreme adepts and masters in the form of the great white light, which transcends any illumination ever witnessed by human sight upon either the physical or astral plane, for it pertains to a sphere superior to both, being an absolute rather than a relative white. The presence of white among the astral colors of the human aura betokens a high degree of spiritual attainment and unfoldment. When it is seen permeating the entirety of the aura, it serves as one of the signs of the master, the very token of adeptship. Chapter 5. The Auric Kaleidoscope. As has been demonstrated, the human aura is never in a state of absolute repose or quiescence. Motion and mutability are perpetually manifested by it. It possesses, naturally, its periods of relative tranquility, yet even in this condition a pulsating, wave-like movement remains discernible. Clouds of shifting color drift across its surface and within its depths, resembling the swiftly driven, fleecy clouds across a summer sky illuminated by the rays of the setting sun. Furthermore, violent tempests of mental activity and emotional stress disturb this relative calm, presenting the observer with scenes of the utmost turbulence within the aura. So intense are the vibrations of certain of these mental storms that their effects are plainly felt by the average individual, notwithstanding their inability to discern the colors of the great vortices and undulations of auric substance that accompany them. An individual immersed in reverie, dream states, or slumber presents an intriguing auric kaleidoscope of exquisite beauty, provided the person is of normal disposition and average moral character. In such instances, there exists a misty clarity imbued with tints and shades of diverse colors, blending in singular and captivating combinations, gradually emerging from prior formations and dissolving imperceptibly into new ones. To the observer of the aura, the term opalescent instinctively suggests itself, for there is a striking resemblance to the peculiar play of delicate tints and shades characteristic of opal within a pearly or lacteal body. Color merges into color, tint into tint, and hue into hue, as in the chromatic scale of the spectrum, of which the rainbow is the most familiar exemplar. Yet the rainbow or spectrum lacks the singular semi-transparency of the auric colors, as well as the perpetually shifting and dissolving nature of the aura's chromatic body. At this juncture, I wish to direct your attention to an aspect of the aura that I purposely omitted in the preceding chapters. I refer to that phase of the aura which exhibits the pearly appearance of the opalescent body we have just remarked. This manifestation is attributable neither to mental nor emotional states, nor is it the prana-aura or vital force described in an earlier chapter. Rather, it is the manifestation of that which is known to occultists as etheric substance, and it constitutes a highly intriguing feature of auric phenomena. This etheric substance, which displays this singular radiance within the body of the aura, constitutes what certain occultists designate as the astral body. However, as this latter term is also employed in a different context, I prefer the term etheric double to denote that which others refer to as the astral body. Etheric substance is a far more refined form of matter than that which constitutes the physical organism. Indeed, it consists of matter vibrating at an exceptionally high frequency, vastly exceeding even the ultra-gaseous matter of physical substance. Under ordinary circumstances, it may be perceived solely upon the astral plane, which serves as its specific sphere of activity. The etheric double, constituted of this etheric substance, represents the precise counterpart of the physical organism, the individual's ordinary material body, though it possesses the capacity for significant expansion or contraction within space. Corresponding to the physical body, it radiates an aura. This emission, when amalgamated with the other components of the auric body, imparts that distinctive pearly appearance which constitutes the background of the previously noted opalescence. The etheric double accounts for the phenomenon of spectral apparitions or ghosts, as it endures for a period following the demise of the physical body and, under certain conditions, becomes visible to ordinary sight. On occasion, it is projected from the physical body, appearing at such times as an apparition of the living, phenomena of which numerous instances have been documented by societies dedicated to psychical research. Reference is made here to the etheric double or astral body, primarily to elucidate the singular pearly hue of the auric background, or matrix, within and through which the mental and emotional auric colors shift and play. It may, nonetheless, interest the reader to learn that this particular phase of the aura is invariably present surrounding a ghost or a dematerialized, disembodied soul or spirit, to employ the vernacular term. The aura of an individual who is fully awake is, naturally, far more active and intensely colored than that of one in a state of reverie, dreaming, or slumber. Furthermore, the aura of a person exhibiting a high degree of intellectual activity or intense emotion and passion is considerably more brilliant and profound than that of an ordinary individual engaged in routine daily tasks. In states of anger or intense passion, for example, the aura undergoes violent disruption. Profound hues whirl and swirl throughout both the depths and the surface of the auric body. Fulgurous, lightning-like flashes emanate from it, and vast masses of lurid, smoky clouds drift across its surface. To observe the aura of an individual consumed by rage and passion is akin to peering into inferno. On the astral plane, the vicinity of a lynching mob or any other assembly filled with fury becomes a terrifying spectacle of auric radiation. Conversely, an individual imbued with the emotion of pure love suffuses his aura with the most exquisite tints and shades of a delicate rosy hue, the contemplation of which affords a pleasure profoundly appreciated by the occultist. A sanctuary occupied by individuals of high devotional ideals is likewise a scene of beauty, owing to the blending of the violet-blue auric vibrations of the assembled congregation. Conversely, the atmosphere of a prison is exceedingly depressing, presenting a highly disagreeable aspect to one endowed with astral vision. Similarly, the astral atmosphere of a dwelling dedicated to vice and passion becomes genuinely physically nauseating to an occultist of refined ideals and taste. Such scenes on the astral plane are avoided by all true occultists, save when the summons of duty impels them to enter such domains to proffer assistance and relief. Two distinct features characterize the auric coloration of every individual. The first is the coloration arising from the person's habitual thoughts and emotions, representing, indeed, their core character. The second is the coloration resulting from the specific emotions or thoughts manifested at any given moment. The transient coloration of momentary emotion swiftly dissipates, whereas the more habitual disposition, intertwined with character, causes its corresponding hue to persist more permanently, thereby imparting a decisive tone to the general auric appearance. Consequently, the adept occultist is capable of discerning not merely the fleeting thoughts and emotions of an individual, but also of infallibly determining their general character, inclinations, past deeds, and fundamental nature, solely through a meticulous examination and study of the subject's auric colors. As is well understood by all occultists, every locality, be it a dwelling, place of commerce, sanctuary, or tribunal, as well as every village, city, province, and nation, possesses its own collective aura, designated as the astral atmosphere. This is merely the composite reflection of the individual auras of the human entities comprising its population. These atmospheric vibrations are tangibly perceived by many individuals, who are instinctively attracted or repelled thereby. To the advanced occultist, however, these locations manifest auric colors in combinations dictated by the nature of the psyches of the inhabitants residing therein. Every location possesses its collective aura, precisely as every individual possesses a personal aura. Owing to this and analogous factors, the astral plane presents a spectacular panorama of color. The harmony of the color schemes in certain instances is marvelously beautiful, whereas the horrific aspect of other scenes resembles a nightmare of the most terrifying description. It is readily comprehensible why certain of the ancients, having obtained fleeting glimpses of the astral plane whilst in a state of dream or trance, reported visions of terrible hells of unquenchable fire and lakes of burning sulfur. Such imagery would naturally present itself to the mind of an uninitiated observer who had peered into the astral realm under those conditions. Correspondingly, the celestial visions recorded by saints and other highly spiritual individuals are explicable by the hypothesis that these persons had perceived the exquisite scenes of the higher astral planes, which are suffused with the mingled auric tints and hues of highly evolved souls. The principle of auric coloration remains valid across all the numerous planes of being and existence, from the lowest to the highest. In presenting these assertions, I merely allude to a profound occult truth. The contemplative reader will be capable of reading between the lines. I have provided a modest key that will unlock the portals to numerous mysteries, provided it is employed with intelligence. Chapter 6. Thought Forms. That fascinating phase of occult phenomena known as thought forms is so intimately allied with the general subject of the human aura that any mention of the former must inevitably evoke consideration of the latter. Thought forms are constructed from the selfsame material that constitutes the aura, and they manifest all of its general characteristics, extending even to the auric colors themselves. A comprehension of the reality of the human aura is therefore indispensable to a correct understanding of the nature of thought forms composed of this identical substance. A thought form is a unique manifestation of mental activity upon the astral plane. It constitutes more than a mere powerful disturbance within the structure of the human aura, though this is the site of its embodiment or genesis in the objective world. Do you want access to this and all the complete audiobooks on the channel, plus the ebook version? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code in the left corner of the screen to access our library, where you can listen to your favorite esoteric books without ad interruptions, lock your screen, or use other apps while the narration plays, and even download the ebook version to follow along as you listen. Listen on your computer via web browser, or download the app from the Play Store. After subscribing, you will receive an email with your login details, password, and step-by-step instructions on how to access the books through the Hotmart app.